Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing apart a massive illusion that has completely hijacked the modern American dream. We're looking at the Golden Handcuff Trap and why being rich in America is, frankly, a scam. You know the type, high-earning professionals in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s who look incredibly successful on the outside but are secretly suffocating on the inside. We're going to use the data, the psychology, and the hidden math of wealth to show you exactly why hitting a six-figure salary isn't the finish line. Actually, it's often the bait for a perfectly designed trap.
$4.12. Picture this for a second. You make $200,000 a year. You drive a brand new Tesla, your kids go to a great private school, and you just booked a luxury trip to Tulum for the winter. You are living the absolute peak aesthetic of success. But then you log into your banking app the day before payday and boom, you see this, $4.12. Here's the terrifying truth we uncovered in the source material. If your entire lifestyle requires a massive monthly cash flow just to keep the lights on, you are technically one bad week away from total bankruptcy.
So, that brings us to the ultimate question we all have to ask ourselves. Are you rich or just a high-paid slave? Because you see, true wealth isn't about how much money flows through your hands. It's about how much of your time you actually own. The sources point out a pretty harsh reality here. If you have to grind 60 hours a week to maintain your lifestyle, well, you haven't bought freedom. You've just been upgraded to a higher, way more expensive class of worker. You're wearing golden handcuffs. Sure, they might be shiny, they might be comfortable, but they absolutely still keep you chained to a desk.
Let's dive into our first section, the invisible wealth ladder and the 6 secret levels of the American wealth game.
The rules of the American wealth game are shifting right under our feet. Research indicates that by the year 2026, earning a $100,000 salary is essentially the new $40,000. It's just the new baseline for basic survival in major cities. You see, the system isn't necessarily designed to keep you starving. It's actually designed to keep you comfortably broke, constantly working to sustain a lifestyle that leaves you with zero real equity. To understand how we get trapped, we really have to look at how we climb. Down at level 0, you're the credit score slave. Your credit score is your absolute master, and you're paying upwards of 24% interest just to fund a lifestyle you can't afford. Then, you scrape by as a survivalist at level 1 and eventually graduate to paycheck purgatory at level 2, where you make just enough to pay the bills, but absolutely nothing more. But the most dangerous place you can be, that's where millions of high achievers find themselves right now. Level 3, the golden handcuffs.
That brings us to level 3, the Golden Handcuffs, also known as the upper middle class trap. So why is level 3 so incredibly dangerous? Well, because when you finally hit that $150K or $200K mark, instead of buying freedom, you fall victim to a psychological trap called the hedonic treadmill. This is the exact salary tier where life supposedly gets easier. But instead, what happens? You sign a 30-year mortgage you can barely sustain, finance luxury vehicles, and trade your absolute prime earning years just to keep all the plates spinning. The hedonic treadmill is essentially our tendency to increase our spending as our income rises. Think about it. When you made $50K, a Chipotle burrito was an awesome Friday night treat. But when you make $150K, suddenly you need a $200 steak dinner just to feel that exact same baseline level of happiness. You earn more, so you spend more to feel the exact same high. You're running faster and faster on the treadmill, but you aren't actually moving forward financially.
It's absolutely crucial to compare these two forces directly. On one side, we have income growth. Now, this looks amazing on paper. It gets you high fives at the office, and it creates this massive, completely false sense of security. But on the other side, we have expense growth. And the insidious reality here is that for most Americans, expense growth rises significantly faster than their paychecks. Every single raise is immediately swallowed up by a lifestyle upgrade. This is the exact mechanism that locks you inside the rat race no matter how much your salary actually increases.
Let's put a really painful number on this. 20%. Just think about the utter absurdity of this for a second. Millions of professionals trade the absolute prime decade of their lives, their 30s, working incredibly high-stress jobs, dealing with toxic bosses, missing their kids' bedtimes, all to pay for a status car that instantly loses 20% of its value the absolute second you drive it off the dealership lot. It's crazy. You are quite literally trading irreplaceable hours of your life for a rapidly depreciating piece of metal, mostly just to impress people at stoplights.
Let's shift gears to level 5, the silent millionaire. This is all about buying freedom, not status.
Level 5 is where the game entirely changes. The silent millionaire is the person who completely skips the blue checkmark verification on social media, skips the designer clothes, and skips the luxury car leases. They operate totally under the radar. Just look at this stark contrast. First, the flashy rich. Driving that new Tesla, drowning in hidden consumer debt, and stressing over a 9-to-5 job where, let's be totally honest, they could be replaced by an AI model in 48 hours. Now look at the silent millionaire. They might roll up in a 10-year-old Toyota Corolla, but their net worth is heavily concentrated in appreciating assets. They aren't living off the sweat of their brow, they're living off the dividends generated by their investments. They have completely decoupled their time from their income, which is a total game changer.
And that brings us to a quote that really anchors this entire explainer. Money is a skill before it is a number. The truly wealthy, the people who actually manage to escape the trap, have this fundamental realization early on. They don't look at money as a tool to buy things that make them look rich. They look at money as a tool to buy back their freedom. Building wealth is a distinct, learnable skill set that revolves around discipline, delayed gratification, and asset accumulation.
Moving right along to level 6, the untouchable class, and the concept of billionaire math. At this extreme end of the ladder, we get into what analysts call billionaire math. True wealth means owning the systems and the companies that actually pay the salaries, rather than being the person earning the salary. You step entirely outside the standard rules of income. And the rules they play by? Well, they're completely counterintuitive to the middle class. The motto is, stop paying taxes like a teacher, start using debt as a weapon. While the middle class is terrified of debt and gets absolutely crushed by W-2 income taxes, the untouchable class uses complex asset borrowing to fund their lifestyles tax-free. They don't hold cash because cash loses to inflation. They hold the future. They hold real estate, businesses, and equities. They use debt as leverage to acquire more assets, not to buy consumer goods.
To really hammer this home, let's look at a staggering number. $34 trillion. That is the current U.S. national debt, and it's literally rising every single second. Now, the middle class sees a number like this and panics about economic collapse, but the untouchable class, they honestly don't care. They understand that in a system built entirely on debt and money printing, holding hard assets that inflate in value alongside the debt is the ultimate shield. They view debt as a systemic feature they can leverage to their advantage, not a personal liability that keeps them awake at night.
Finally, let's talk about escaping the rat race and how to own the game.
I want you to do a brutal reality check right now. Check your bank account balance and then look at your calendar for tomorrow. If your income strictly depends on you physically showing up to a desk or a Zoom call tomorrow morning, you are not actually wealthy. You're just a high-paid worker. To transition from earner to owner, you've got to execute these steps starting today. First, you have to consciously stop trading your hours for dollars. Second, embrace the boring. Buy those broad, boring index funds and let compound interest do the heavy lifting for you. Third, build the discipline to say no to the next lifestyle upgrade when you get a raise. Fourth, stop being a slave to the rich aesthetic. Seriously, nobody actually cares about the logo on your steering wheel. And finally, shift your focus from looking successful this weekend to building a long-term legacy that outlasts you.
So, the absolute most crucial point we're leaving you with today is this final, provocative question. Do you own your time, or does someone else? Because at the end of the day, that is literally the only metric of wealth that actually matters. Are you going to keep running on the treadmill, getting faster but going nowhere? Or are you going to step off and start playing a game you can actually win? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.